Shelley and I were driving home from that trip, and it was in the worst snowstorm I have ever driven in. And her boyfriend, Scott, and another friend of his were in the truck behind us, and for some reason, Shelley and I were leading the way. And the storm was just absolutely terrible. The wind was blowing so hard that it was swinging the trailer I was pulling off sideways so much that you could see the logos on the side of the trailer in the rearview mirror.
Oh,
it was
wow.
just like, and Shelley and I were laughing our asses off.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventure. And rare opportunity today. Angie and I are talking on the show together. Angie, good morning.
Good morning. It's awesome to be able to do this every now and then, and hopefully we can do it more often.
I know with the technology that makes it seem like you're in the same room, it's just, why not, And, we decided that since, we've been going at this for, I don't know how long now, quite a while. How long have we been doing this?
Gosh, it will be exactly a year tomorrow as you're listening to this episode that the Woman Angler and Adventure podcast started.
Yeah, everything that has happened since then and just kind of the year that we had, we decided we're just going to kind of take a moment to look back and look forward and just kind of assess where things are at and figure out what the future is going to be. And I tell you, I couldn't be more excited about the response we've had. And, it seems I can feel the movement that's going, with women living a life outdoors and fishing and hunting. And it's almost like it's exploding. And it's so fun to be a part of that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And, the support that people are giving us for this podcast to help promote this movement. I mean, I really do feel like it's a movement, and it's just been so great to see, people sharing these episodes that we're doing, sharing the stories of other women who are out there doing amazing things in the fishing and outdoors world. It's so encouraging for me too, to have the chance to talk to women out there who are just doing these amazing things. It's very empowering.
Yeah, it sure is. And, one thing that I really like about the podcast format is you can always go back and listen to these, prior shows that you've done. And I look back, over some of the shows we've done, and, I just have to laugh because it just makes some really fun memories of some of the stuff that we've done. And I think back to some of the ones I did, how we did that show live from Fish Camp, how, you had like 70 women in this room and we're taping a show and you get all that energy. And, the one that we did with the Gens girls, and you've done some amazing shows, and I think that the quality of the shows just keep getting better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And we've had some great opportunities to have some amazing guests on the show, which it's been so fun to talk to, like Angelica from the Wicked Tuna show on National Geographic. That was really cool. And I've been kind of watching that season now, and to be like, we talked to her and got to share her story with everybody. It's really special. We've got some really exciting ones planned for the future. I had the opportunity to sneak backstage at the Grand Ole Opry and meet Terry Clark. We found out that she's a really avid angler. If you're not familiar with Terry Clark, she's a pretty big country music star from Canada, and she's the only female Canadian Grand Ole Opry member, which is pretty neat. And anyway, I got to kind of sneak in as she was coming off stage and talk to her about fishing and tell her about the podcast. So she's interested in being on the show. We're just trying to work with her manager to get a time set up to sit down and talk with her. So just stuff like that. I mean, that's opportunities that have come up through this podcast have just been really exciting.
Yeah, and from all over the country, I mean, we just, from Florida up to Canada, ice fishing, open water, bass fishing, all sorts of stuff. I know that I'm really looking forward to going out to the East Coast, and we're going to do a show out there when we're out there fishing for striper out in Cape Cod. And that's something that is totally new to me. I've never done anything like that before, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, I mean, isn't that going to be something? In fact, I got to get to work on that and get that registration open on the website. I got so many people that are waiting to sign up for that. In fact, I'm nervous because it's like people are just kind of tapping their foot, like saying, come on. And, I'm afraid. I wish there was more spots, so I could bring more people because so many people are interested in it. But, it's one of those things I got to figure out how I'm going to do that. Do I have to do a lottery? Is it first come, first serve? But I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, well, so we got to sit down together for the first time we met in person. We'd been doing the show for a while, but we got to sit down together face to face at the Fishing Careers Workshop in Brainerd this past fall that you spoke at. And I feel like you've been kind of running crazy ever since then, traveling, doing different fishing events that you put on, the Women on Ice thing. Can you give listeners just a little kind of behind the scenes of what your life has been like and, kind of a day in the life of Barb Carey? Because it just it amazes me all the stuff that you do and you plan these events. And
well, it's interesting because I don't know, I guess I'm just used to it, but so many times I run into people and, people that just kind of follow you on Facebook or you end up talking to them in person or something, and everyone says, oh my gosh, you've been busy. You've been all over the place. And it's like, I think, oh, well, gee, I guess I have been busy. But when you're in it, you're so focused on what you're doing, it doesn't seem like you're that busy to me anyway. And, I just take advantage of these opportunities that come up. And that's one of the things that I think that we try to, instill on our listeners. There's opportunities that are going to present themselves and you have to take advantage of it. And being able to speak at that Al Linder's Fishing Career Workshop was just a great opportunity. And I'm so thankful that I had that. And, I went from that and started working some of the ice shows, and, doing seminars and talking to people is something that I really, really enjoy. And, it's like, even when I'm talking about fishing, I get goosebumps, and just sharing stories with different anglers and, talking about techniques and tips. And I mean, everybody has something to learn, and just having those conversations just kind of, sticks with you, and you remember these conversations, and you hope that you can learn stuff and use it in the future. And that's one of the things that, in fact, I have a seminar coming up next week, locally here on trolling. And, just when people come together to talk about fishing, I think that, there's something about that. And that's one of the things about fishing that's so great. I mean, you're part of a community, and being a part of something that's bigger than you is, and especially something that's so healthy and so positive. I think that we're lucky, and I feel sorry for the people that don't fish, I mean, what do they do? And I mean, I look back, like you said, about the winter I've had. I mean, I'm up on Lake Winnipeg fishing for these massive walleyes, with some of my friends from Clam, Shelley Holland. We've had her on the show before. And I tell you, Shelley and I were driving home from that trip, and it was in the worst snowstorm I have ever driven in. And her boyfriend, Scott, and another friend of his were in the truck behind us. And for some reason, Shelley and I were leading the way. And the storm was just absolutely terrible. The wind was blowing so hard that it was swinging the trailer I was pulling off sideways so much that you could see the logos on the side of the trailer in the rearview mirror.
Oh,
it was
wow.
just like... And Shelley and I were laughing our asses off. We, I don't know. It's like sometimes you get nervous at a funeral and you're laughing or something. I don't know what it was, but we were just nonstop laughing. I mean, tears are running down our eyes. And it's a situation where you shouldn't have been laughing. It was like life-threatening practically, but we were just having so much fun just being in this wicked storm, And that is a memory that both of us are going to share together that, you didn't plan. It wasn't about the big fish. It wasn't about, but once in a while we'll text each other and say, oh my God, I haven't laughed so hard in years, and kind of relive those moments. And, it's kind of like the extra benefit of having adventure in your life. It's these things that happen that you couldn't plan if you tried, but they just happen. And that's what part of the memories are. It's not about the biggest fish you catch, those memories. It's about these different experiences that you have that there's no way you could predict that you would have. But if you're out participating, they happen.
Yep. Well, it's funny you mentioned that topic. I just scrolling through Facebook this morning, and not too long ago we had Amy Ray on from Sisterhood of the Outdoors, and I'm a member of their Facebook group. This lady had posted this post in the group this morning that really struck me. And basically the point of her post was, don't wait to be adventurous. She had to go through a life-saving kidney transplant 7 years ago. She was only 39 years old, and she had kind of come to the point where it was like, wow, I'm not going to make I'm not going to survive. She'd kind of made her peace, but at 39, she was a little regretful about, all the opportunities she didn't take to be adventurous and get out there. And she's really into hunting, but, since she had that successful kidney transplant that was, basically like a miracle, she's just getting out there following her dreams. She's going on these trips with women and experiencing, and it's just kind of a reminder to do what you said, take advantage of these opportunities when they come up, because that's really what life is all about,
Well, and it doesn't have to be some big expensive trip. There's opportunities that present themselves frequently if you're connected to a network. And I think that's the big piece, the big step that people have to take. I mean, yesterday, I know I got a call and said, hey, we're going fishing this afternoon. Do you want to go? Well, I ordinarily would have jumped at the chance, but I'm fighting this flu that I'm still stuck with. So I had to say no yesterday, but a couple other people said yes, and like last week they did that, and they had so many pictures of so many big fish. They had so much fun. And this was just kind of an impromptu get together with some friends that didn't know each other. They met each other through the fishing club that they're in. And so sometimes in order to get opportunities to present themselves, you have to put yourself in a place where that can happen. And, even our Facebook page, so many things are happening just through the Facebook page. And, oh yeah, I know, let me check that out. Or I know her, or I'm going to go to that group and see what they're offering, or I'm going to participate in this. I mean, so the more networks you can connect to, the more opportunities that will present themselves.
Yep. I agree. And it's just so cool to see women, even just on our group, connecting with each other. Like, hey, is anybody else in this area, oh yeah, I am, or I know somebody, and, just kind of connecting that way. You got to put yourself out there a little bit to get connected, but once you do, I think it's well worth. I know that's been the story for me in my life. I mean, one of the big things you presented me with the opportunity to go to this Association of Great Lake Outdoor Riders Conference that was up in, they had it in Bismarck, North Dakota this past fall. And I don't know. I just said, I got to take advantage of this opportunity and get connected with that group. And so many things have come from that, like, Buddy Signer, I met him. He's doing a really cool thing. He has a podcast I encourage people to go check out called Fish Stories. You can go to his website, fishstories.org, but he invited me to be just an ambassador because he's doing something that I think we can all stand behind, just archiving people's stories for the future generations. It's kind of what we're doing here with women and their stories, but it's just stuff like that. When you're available, just these opportunities come up.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like just sometimes, being, aware, all of a sudden something will pop up. Like you talked about the writers conference. There's people that I've met that I've said, hey, you enjoy writing, you write these great stories. Why don't you take that one step further and try to get that published and kind of, go forward with that a little bit more, be a part of this writers organizations. And, that's opening doors for them. One gal has a radio show she does now once a week. And so doors open often, and it's, if you keep your eyes open, things will come up. And I'm looking forward to that conference again this year. In fact, I can kind of let a secret out of the bag right now. Are you planning on going to that one this fall? It's in La Crosse.
I'm going to try. So I had some big, just for our listeners, I had some big kind of life changes come up in my career. And so I don't know, kind of navigating if I'm going to have the vacation time and all this to do all the things I want to try to fit in. But if I can, I'm going to try my hardest to go.
Well, we recently, this year's conference is going to be in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and it's right on the Mississippi River, right on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. And actually, this weekend, we were supposed to have a border battle between Wisconsin women fish and the Minnesota women anglers. We were going to gather on this fishing barge on the Mississippi and have our, I think, 5th annual contest, a little fishing competition to see who would win. And due to the high water, it had to be canceled because the barges weren't even open. So we were trying to figure out when we could reschedule. And I talked to Mark Smith, who's the executive director of the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers, because I knew that this conference was going to be in La Crosse next fall. And I thought, these conferences, you get writers that come in from all over the place, media people, radio, television, all these media people that come in and they're doing stories about the area of La Crosse and everything that's going on there. It's kind of, in addition to having workshops and career building and skill development stuff, it's, really we're there to get some storylines about that area. And I thought, what a great opportunity if we could have that rematch that we had to reschedule the same time that all the media people were there, because one of the things that they were going to do was go out fishing on one of these barges. So this is the secret hot off the press. This event is going to be rescheduled for that Saturday before that conference.
Oh, wow.
So I'm pretty excited about that. So not only is it going to be the competition between the two fishing clubs, but there's also going to be some support from La Crosse and, a lot of media people there kind of getting women's stories. And that's kind of what we're about, is kind of, making these stories come forward. And, because I think the more stories that are told, the more people you reach, and the more potential you have to change somebody's life. Because I know a ton of people that's lives were changed through fishing or through hunting or through adventure, or making this connection with these people that are so positive and have this lifestyle of being outside and participating and being active. And it's really, it's all about quality of life.
Well, that's such a brilliant idea. That's why you're such a pro to come up with something like that. That's perfect. That's going to be so cool.
Yeah, and they're excited about it too. I mean, you look for, this is what, as a media person, you look for these stories, and this one's just all going to fit together perfectly. And I haven't even announced to the clubs yet that the dates, I know, and hats off to president of the Minnesota club, because they had another big thing planned, and they did some rearranging to kind of make that date work, because they saw the value in it too. So yeah, it's a done deal. More information will be coming down on that.
Well, speaking of outdoor writer conferences, this weekend I'm going to be attending the Tennessee Outdoor Writers Association conference at Natchez Trace State Park here in Tennessee. And I'm excited to say it sounds like we're going to be recipients of an Excellence in Craft Award for the podcast. And it's in the radio category, which is pretty cool. They don't have a podcast category yet. So stay tuned for that. And soon we'll be able to say that The Woman Angler and Adventurer is an award-winning podcast.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really proud of the work we're doing, Angie. I think we do an excellent job, and I just not bragging on ourselves. I just think these stories, and hats off to the people that we get to talk to and talk about, because it's their stories that are so interesting. And I just feel so lucky to be able to be a part of this, and that our paths came together and we're able to pull this off. It's just so exciting.
Yep. And the more we do this, it just feels like the gears are starting to turn faster and faster. We just had a partnership come into play with Waypoint TV, which I've been a fan of for a really long time. So our podcast is now a part of their network, which is really exciting for me, because that's going to help expose us to more women out there who haven't found our podcast yet, and that's what we want to do, is just get exposure for more and more women so they can be inspired by these amazing stories that we're getting to share.
Well, I'm excited about that too. Our next step, I'm warning people right now, is we're going to try to find some advertisers. There's costs involved in putting this show on, and it's a labor of love for sure, but at some point you don't want it to be breaking your own personal piggy bank. So, if you know of anybody it's a great format. People are listening. We have our listener base grows every week. People, want to support the show, and they want to support the products that support the show. So we're going to be moving forward with that, trying to develop some of those relationships. And, the future is pretty exciting. What do you got coming up for the future now, Angie? I know you've been tournament fishing. You got first place in the first tournament you fished. How are you going to top that?
Well, unfortunately, I was really bummed. I'm going to have to miss. Our next big tournament is Gunnersville, and I've always wanted to fish Gunnersville. And it just happened to fall the weekend that I'm flying out to San Diego for a trip that I've been planning for a while. So I guess I'm going to have to wait. Well, I might go fish Gunnersville on my own at some point before then, but we fish it every year. So if not, I'll definitely make it happen next year. But yeah, we just have a bunch of other tournaments, area lakes coming up. So, going to try to get involved. We've got a big event here in Nashville, it's called the Three Legends Tournament. It's Cast for a Cure, that supports TJ Martell Foundation. It's sponsored by Chris Young, who's a big country music star, and that's happening on June 1st. So I'm hoping to be able to be involved in that, whether I'm fishing in it or guiding or just helping out in some other way. But it will be Bill Dance, Roland Martin, and Jimmy Houston will be out there for that. So plus a bunch of country music stars. So that's always exciting. Another thing, we've kind of been talking about, and hopefully I booked my flights, but that's about as far as I've got. But iCast is happening in Orlando in July. I just need to figure out lodging. So if we have any listeners in the Orlando area, shoot me an email, Angie@thewomanangler.com, because I don't think that's going to be cheap. But, Anyway, I've been talking with the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation. They're going to be there and they're wanting to do a women's event. And so I thought it'd be really cool if we could somehow do a podcast episode from that at iCast. So we'll see if we can get that to come together, but that would be really exciting. I'm also working on a new website, and maybe by the time this comes out, it will be up and running, but it will be a lot more media based. So you'll be able to listen to the podcast episodes right on the main page without having to click through to different, links to get to the episodes you want to listen to. Of course, you can always listen on iTunes and Spotify and Pandora, all those different outlets. But I think a lot of people like to be able to just go to a website as well. And you can even download the episodes to your computer so you don't have to stream it if you don't want to. So we're working on that. And then, of course, I'm really looking forward to that Cape Cod trip that you mentioned in the fall. That's going to be super exciting. And so, and who knows what else is going to come up between now and then.
Yeah, and I have some exciting news is I've accepted a position as a pro staff for Crestliner Boats.
That is super exciting.
I'm going to be getting my new boat next week. And I'm really excited about that. One thing that's really exciting about Crestliner is their CEO is the first female CEO of an aluminum boat company, and their pro staff directors, women. There's a bunch of power women that are involved in that company. So it's just kind of like a perfect fit for me to fall in there. And their boats are just really high quality. Part of the Brunswick family, the same as Lund. I'd been running Lunds for the last 9 years, but, I'm really excited about making this switch over the Crestliner lineup, and I cannot wait to get in the new boat. And some of the stuff I'm going to be doing this year is I'm going to be chartering out of Sheboygan, doing some salmon fishing charters and kind of teaching people how they can fish on big water with their boat. You don't necessarily have to get into a big charter boat to get out there and take advantage of this awesome fishery in Lake Michigan and, the salmon and the trout. And it's just so exciting, that fishing. I mean, it just kind of makes me insane. I just get so excited about it. I mean, if you've ever been in a boat with me, and a lot of my friends that have been in the boat with me are listening to this. I know they're laughing right now because they know what it's like, because there's so much excitement in the boat when you get hooked up with these fish. And I'm really excited about that. I have a bunch of dates booked up, and I'm going to be guest captaining with Wolfpack Adventures out of Sheboygan. Pat Calmerton and Tyler Chisholm, that group that works out of there, has been so supportive of me, and I've learned so much from those guys. So having this captain's license, and you're a captain too, Angie, but that opens so many doors. And I've been talking to women about how to start that process for themselves. And, if that's something that listeners, if you're thinking about, I would like to be a captain someday, the number one thing to do right now is start logging your hours in the boat, because that's one of the things that you have to have so many hours logged in. So just keep a little notebook, and, the boat you were in and the water you're in, and especially if there's Great Lakes involved, that's really important hours to get. And you would not believe how many opportunities there are for women captains. I've had so many job offers. I had somebody sent me a note the other day and said, "Hey, are you looking for work? I'm looking for a captain over here." And I mean, I know women that go up to Alaska and captain all summer. So those opportunities are there, and it is not that hard. And if you want to pursue that, I'm sure Angie and I both would be a great resource for anybody, any of our listeners out there that want to take that next step. And I strongly encourage you to go for it if you have an interest in it.
Yep. And one big thing to keep in mind as you're logging your hours is 4 hours counts as a day. So when you see that requirement, I forget what it is now, it's like 360, depending on what license you're going for, it's different. But the one that I got, the 6-pack license, it's like you need 360 days logged on the water. Somewhere's in there. And so when you see that number, might get overwhelmed. But when you think about that, a day, 4 hours counts as a day, that makes it a little easier, because how often, pretty much every time you go out fishing, you're probably going to be out there for 4 hours. So, like Barb said, just start logging that and you'll be surprised how fast that adds up. And you can even backdate it all the way, I think, once you were 14 or something like that. So if you can somehow kind of recapture some of those days that you were out and you didn't have to be the one driving the boat, you could have been, riding with your mom and dad or something like that can count as well. So,
you just have to have the specific information about the boat. Yep. And so that's really something that is a great opportunity there. Women captains are sought after now all over the place, and who knows, maybe we'll be retiring down in Florida and doing a charter a couple days a week. Doesn't that sound like fun in the winter?
That'd be a blast. Well, speaking of your boat, I got to see a picture of it and it is sharp. So I'm so excited for you. And, and you mentioned Pat Culmerton, and I got to meet him for the first time at that writers conference we talked about, and he is a hoot.
Oh my God, he's so fun. And that's what you want when you're hiring a guide or you're hiring a captain. You want it to be fun. Mm-hmm. It's got to be a fun experience, and you're not going to have more fun with anybody than Pat, I tell you that, because that guy is just a riot. And so that's, I've had great training from those guys technically, once they've kind of really improved my skills. Now I'm catching fish all the time out there. And, one of the reasons that I'm so into educating other anglers is because for so many years, I was just flailing out there trying to figure it out on my own. I didn't have anyone that was mentoring me or teaching me. So it took me a long time to kind of get things figured out. And these people that are hooked up with a mentor or somebody that's helping them along the way improve their skills, there's such an advantage for those people. So I want to be that person for people that don't have that, and that's why, some of these women that, really haven't had a lot of people to mentor them, I want to kind of be that person and fill that role and not only do it to help them, but also create other mentors to kind of keep paying this forward and building this, because there's no reason why you can't get really good right away. You don't have to wait for 6-7 years to really become skilled. As long as you've got some good mentors and instructors, it doesn't take that long. That's the thing about fishing. You can improve really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you mentioned, I have my captain's license as well. I started a website, angiescottadventures.com, and I haven't set up booking yet, but I want to kind of do the same thing and take people out, and I'm still learning a lot, and that's okay. I have the resources to take people out, and if they want to fish, if they just want to go for a cruise on the lake, just be out on the water, whatever. But one of the things I want to get into too is striper fishing on the lake that I'm on, Percy Priest, which is just outside of Nashville. It's really good striper fishery, and I really enjoy that type of fishing. So I went to there's a striper club here in Nashville, and I went to one of their meetings, and hopefully we'll get to get out to more of those and maybe fish with some of those guys and start learning that whole process. That'd be a lot of fun.
Now, when you went there, was there any other women there?
There were a few, and most of them were like the wives of the guys that were there. So I didn't see any that were just like me, just there on their own. It was a little intimidating, I'll be honest, but, I've learned you just kind of gotta put yourself out there, like we talked about earlier, to get those opportunities.
Yeah, it's not always, so there is a fear factor a lot of times, but taking that first step can, just kind of create enormous possibilities.
Yep. Yeah, and it was cool. The president of the club called or reached out to me, to have a one-on-one conversation about the club and getting involved and stuff like that. So that makes it easier when the guys in the club are so supportive and want to be helpful.
Oh, absolutely. So, something else I got going on this summer is I'm going to Alaska.
Oh, wow. When are you doing that, and what are you going to be doing in Alaska?
Well, I'm going in August. A friend of mine, actually through a glow, has a place on Kodiak Island, and I'm going to be taking a solo pilgrimage there to kind of crash their place. And they have a place right on the water, and there's whale watching and salmon fishing and all sorts of stuff right out the front door of their house.
Wow.
And grizzlies walking by. So it's my 60th birthday present to myself this year.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, time to step it up a notch. I've just traveling like that by myself. I've never done it, even though they're meeting people when I get there. But that opportunity came up, and I had to jump on that. I'm going to Puerto Rico for Mother's Day because my daughter and I are going to go for Mother's Day, a little first-time mother-daughter vacation. She's in her 40s, and it's like, okay, what are we waiting for? We better do this now while we can still have some fun and not be more old and broken than we already are.
So, are you going to try to work in some fishing in Puerto Rico, I imagine?
I'm going to try. My daughter hates fishing.
Oh, no.
And she hates fishing, and she doesn't like being on big water. It doesn't suit her well. She tends to get seasick, so it's something that she doesn't think is fun. So we're going to try to come up with some type of compromise. There's one charter I found that will drop you at a reef so you can snorkel and then do some fishing. So I'm going to try to bring my shore fishing stuff and try to do some of that while we're laying on the beach.
So I was in the Dominican Republic this past July, and I thought I might be able to do some shore fishing, but it's interesting how they had the resorts laid out. It was kind of one resort after another along the coast, and at least in the area I was in. Now, I maybe could have gone to a different part of the island. It would have been different, but I didn't have a vehicle or anything like that, and it is a third world country, so there are, you definitely need to be cautious, but they kind of had the beach areas, I guess, netted off, so you couldn't really do any fishing there. And I did take a charter out, and I would definitely not recommend that for your daughter. The charter that I went on, we were in a boat, and it was like 10-foot waves, and you literally could not even get up out of your seat until a couple times he'd stop the boat if you wanted to go up on the top deck or down or whatever in order to move safely without falling overboard. It was that crazy. But I luckily do not get seasick. I actually find it relaxing. So that was good. But there were definitely some people on the boat that weren't feeling great. So, but
I hope she doesn't listen to this episode.
Maybe I can edit.
I won't have a chance to get her out there.
Maybe I can edit that part out. But no, that will be super fun.
Yeah. So there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up, and my goal also for this year is to get to Nashville so you and I can actually fish together.
Mm-hmm. That would be awesome.
That'll be fun. Yeah, hopefully this fall. And you always got a seat in my boat if you're ever up this way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So when I mentioned going to San Diego, another connection that came from the Glow Conference was you mentioned to me that I definitely would need to talk to the Hobie people while I was there. And so I did, and I met Kevin, and I mentioned that I was going to be going to San Diego, and he said, well, Hobie is based in Oceanside. You should come out and visit the facilities. And he's a guide, and said that he could take me out on the ocean, do some fishing. And so,
wow.
yeah, so we're going to try to make that happen when I go there in a few weeks. And, ironically, like, when I was running around at the Bassmaster Classic Expo, one of the last things I did before I had to head over to the first weigh-in, I ran into the other building just to see what was over there, and there was the Hobie display, and there was Kevin. So I got to talk to him, and he mentioned to me that now he has a big boat, and he takes people out tuna fishing, kind of like they do on that Wicked Tuna show. And he was showing me a video of how they do it, and that's what we're going to try to do. And I'm super excited. I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to be able to sleep between now and then. So they have a topwater bait that they, drag behind the boat quite a ways out, and you can see it skimming the surface. And then they get into a school of these tuna, and you can kind of see them, and then you watch and they attack that bait and they start swimming down. Well, there's this thing kind of floating up in the air above your bait. And as soon as you see that like balloon or whatever hit the water, that's when you start reeling, because it's got it. It's taking that bait down, and these things are huge. So,
wow.
yeah, I cannot wait. I hope that works out. He said he's around that week. So yeah, that's going to be really cool. And hopefully I can get some video or something, and maybe do an episode on that and talk about the Hobie facility, because that's a really cool company. I know a lot of our listeners are kayak fishers, so that would be super exciting to see all that in person.
Wow, I guess. Talk about taking an advantage of an opportunity.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
We may not get paid a whole lot to do this show. Well, nothing really. but these opportunities, that's definitely something.
Well, like I say, sometimes I get paid in goosebumps,
mm-hmm.
and just hear these stories and talk to these women. And I mean, that's really my calling. It's way more than fishing.
Well, we're definitely blessed to have found each other and to be able to do what we're doing. And, I've said it before, but I mean, I'm just so excited to see where this leads, because so far it's been almost unbelievable.
Well, and again, thanks to everyone that listens and all the support, and I know one thing I do is when I have a podcast app on my phone, I just download them. When I get in the car, I just attach it to my Bluetooth in my car, and I can listen to episodes all down the road. And thank you so much. This was a little different. We'll do these check-in shows once in a while, Angie, just to kind of regroup and get to do a show together once in a while when we're not out and about in the field talking to other people. And
yep, I think it's good. And, we've got so much going on that it definitely warrants having a nice little recap and looking toward the future episode for our listeners so they can stay abreast of everything that's going on. And one other good way to do that is to go to our website, thewomanangler.com, sign up for our email list. Every now and then we'll send an email out with some important information about what we've got going on, so you can stay connected that way.
Absolutely. Remember to like our Facebook page, and we actually have two. We have a public Facebook page, and then we have the group. So many of you are in the group, but we have that public page too, so people don't have to look too hard to find us, and appreciate all the support.
Yeah, and don't forget to also like Captain Barb Carey's page so you can follow her adventures as a captain out there we talked about earlier. I meant to mention that.
Oh, thanks. I got some really cool underwater video of salmon smashing the lures, and I'm looking forward to getting a lot more of that footage this year, and hopefully my editing skills will get a little improved so it doesn't take me 10 days to edit a minute of video. Hopefully that'll be more of that in the future too. And we're going to do more videos for our Women Angler and Adventure too. I think that people love videos. And
yeah.
We get out and about enough that video you did for the Women Ice Angler project was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
really nice job there.
Yeah, it took me a little while to get all that together. I had some issues with the GoPro that I purchased was a little more advanced than my computer was. I didn't realize that. I shouldn't have had it on the settings I had it on, but finally got all that worked out. And I think that turned out pretty cool. Ricky Pardon helped me, with some extra footage and some photos that she got, and came out good. So, and with this new website too, with it being more media based, we're going to be able to put more videos right on the website. And of course we have our YouTube channel as well. So.
Well, until next time.
Yes. Thank you for listening, Barb. It's been a lot of fun getting to sit down and have a conversation, and, tune in next week for another regular episode, and you'll get to hear another awesome story.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back.